Welcome. So, in the light of everything that's happening and kind of the movement to stop being quiet and bringing about truth and whatnot, I've been kind of quiet on my faith, my recent faith. I really don't say it out loud. Probably because I feel a little shame. I don't know why. Maybe a little embarrassed. Well, that's gonna stop now. The last year, I recently became a member of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. This video is going to be about a little bit backstory of why I decided to join. I joined about this time last year. It was December when I decided to start going to church. January when it really manifested. I hate using that fucking word. But that's the start of my journey as an LDS church member. I'm going to go back, kind of give a little pieces of history of my life on what caused me to join. The first one is Luke. He is one of my best friends. He's an LDS member. He was born into it. Unlike me, who is a convert. He never pushed it. To be honest, looking back, he never really even talked about it all that much. Like, we knew, as his friend, I knew, same with his other friends, but he never really just never really brought it up, which was actually kind of refreshing. Over the course of my life, I've gone to 3 different churches. I don't even remember what they were, different sects. I didn't really like them. The first one I went to was when I was in Texas. Neighbor kid across the street, his family was Christian, and I went with him a couple times. Being like 9, 10 years old, I didn't really have a concept of what it was, what it looked like, and how it went. I really don't remember it, other than the fact that I was baptized. This woman who was like, "We're all going to get baptized today," and then dipped her fingers in some water and sprinkled it on me. "You are now baptized," which, even at that time, was a little weird, because even then I knew it's really not how you were baptized. Little did I know I was right at the time. And that's definitely not how you get baptized in any church, honestly. Maybe it was just more of a kind of a little show thing, but even then, like, that's a serious thing when it comes to Christianity. But moving forward, then my brother died. That was the next biggest thing that kind of pushed me away from religion. Family was never religious in the first place, as far as I knew. But when my brother died, the sentiment of, if God truly loved us, he would stop bad things from happening. And I understand a lot of people who do say that. Like, yeah, that's a sentiment, but it's a false sentiment. It's not how God works. I know he works in mysterious ways, but he really does. It's mysterious to us because not only is he beyond our comprehension, he's not a physical being, he's beyond our comprehension. What he does and how he works is also beyond our comprehension. Anyway, when my brother died, that was the sentiment I had. If God was real, and just and merciful, he would stop that from happening. So I got even more deep into being an atheist. Not anything really bad, but either way, I didn't believe. Moving forward, I went to basic training. Always had it in the back of my head at any point in time, it's like if I ever decided to become religious, I would go into the LDS church. And I think one of the things that pushed me a little bit further towards that was during basic training I went to med hold. I ended up getting injured, called there for a couple months while I healed to go back into training. I would go to church, not like to worship or anything, just to see what it was like. The first time that I went, I think it was the first time, I don't really remember. I went 3 or 4 times, just to kind of get out of the dorms. That was my motivation. But one time that I went, they were having individuals come up, tell their story, and the only one that I remember, I don't remember really what she said, but it was her conviction and her belief that really struck me really hard. She believed it, like, to her core. They were telling why, they were giving their stories of why they finally believed and chose to continue or start going to the LDS Church, and why they believe that God is true and real. I think that kind of pushed me a little bit more towards joining the church. And then, about 10 years later, it's quite a long time. Granted, I was an atheist for 35 years of my life. I went on TDY to Vegas, and we were staying in the Boulder Station Hotel, I think it was. Obviously, there's a casino, there's restaurants, it's a huge hotel. But during my time there, I was really tempted to start gambling, and I'm like, logically, it doesn't make sense to me to waste my money on something that I'm not going to get my money back from. And I could possibly lose thousands. As my roommate at the time, he was like, yeah, go down there for a couple hours, come back, I might get another $100-something. That's after losing like $200-300, and then gaining like another $100 or so on top of that. So I really only gained like $200. And then you would go, same thing happened, and it was just like, that's cool and all, but you're sitting there playing a rigged video game, is essentially what it is. He was doing the slots and shit, and it's just like, it's rigged. Like, they all have these freaking formulas and shit that if, as soon as one pays out, it takes hours and hours and hours for it to finally ramp back to getting something. So you can sit there and lose thousands only to gain 100 back. And that's in deficit. Then there's people who get a couple thousand. There's one guy that got like 12. And it's just, you see these numbers. They post like the possible jackpot on there, and there was like ones that were up in the 25,000s. There was one that was like 100,000. It was just like the amount of money that you would have to put in to get that out. You are either going to go into some serious debt to do it, or you're going to be paying more out than you are going to get back. And it just didn't make sense to me. Not to mention, part of the big reason was kind of started to see all the evil that was in the world. Like these people that, like, just full of anger, hatred. It's disgusting. Honestly, none of it was towards me, but knowing that I am a white male I've been demonized just for the color of my skin and my sex. But luckily, I haven't had any, like, actual discrimination against me. But either way, I was a target. But politics beside, there are people in the world that want to cause harm, that are just full of hate and bitterness. And it made me realize that I needed something more. And I got my family, I got my friends, but I needed something higher, something like a structure, because I've been doing everything by myself my whole life, besides the help from my family and friends. But life, I was struggling more at life than I really think I should have been. Still struggling a little bit now, but I'm good. But this is, the reason for this video is to kind of go into what I plan on doing in the future, especially with the events that have happened. Like most people, the death, the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk kind of awakened something in everybody. I might post another video on my thoughts on why this is such a big thing and why so many people are moved by this horrific event. I'll leave that for another video. But this video wanted to be an introduction on the introduction of my faith and why I'm going to start doing what I'm going to say next. I'm going to start, hopefully daily, or as often as I can, reading from the Bible. This is not my Bible, I'm borrowing it from the hotel room, but be reading from the New Testament, Old Testament, and the Book of Mormon, and probably maybe a little bit from the Doctrines and Testaments. But I'm going to open. Yesterday I attempted this. There was no audio. But I read from Acts 9. And I'm going to do the same thing today. Same one. And just kind of give my thoughts. I'm going to go read a chapter, go line by line, kind of stop when I feel like I need to or want to just give my view on it, give an example or something like that. That's going to be in a different video. I just wanted to do an introduction. But that's what I plan on doing on a daily basis, among other things that I'm probably going to start doing on my YouTube. I always thought about, like, the video games I play. I play a lot of them, and maybe I want to do some kind of like a walkthrough, or just kind of go over the different aspects of the games that I play, maybe to help people kind of, especially when they're lost. I know there's a lot of walkthroughs, a lot of guides, but being that I play them, I want to be able to help others who get stuck in an area. Like, I know I do. But this one is about a daily reading, a chapter of a different sections or different books of the Bible. So with that, I'm going to go on to my next video. I'm going to read Acts 9. And I hope you guys have a good day. See you in the next video.